How you doing, everybody? It's your boy Wardy, and as you see, we're back at it talking about the Amazings, and welcome to the first of many videos that you will see this month, where I'm breaking down everything you need to know about the 2024 Metropolitans, previewing and projecting these players. And these videos will be coming at you on average probably every other day throughout the remainder of the month, so make sure you guys are locked in and getting all your player preview and projection needs here at WardyNYM. And I figure, you know what? Let's kick things off by talking about Mark Vientos and Baty, two young kids still competing at the third base position and still competing to be everyday MLB players. How do they look for the 2024 season and beyond is what we're about to deep dive, but make sure to smash that like and subscribe on, as it is the easiest and best way to support the channel. Thank you all so much in advance, and let's get things started by talking about a man that is expected to be the Mets' everyday DH slash third baseman, depending on how much they platoon him defensively, and that is none other than Mark Vientos. So for those that are unaware of Mark Vientos and how he's looking for this upcoming season, let's take a look here. Marky V, again, this past year in 233 plate appearances, very limited sample size, a 211 average. We're looking at, only 9 home runs, 22 RBIs, but you see the life, the power is there with Mark Vientos, and that is a big reason why David Stearns wants to see more of him this season. This is exactly why, to this point, the Mets haven't fully committed to signing a DH, and if JD Martinez's price drops significantly, maybe, just maybe, we might see him landing in Queens. Otherwise, as things currently stand, Mark Vientos is leading the way at the DH position while competing with potentially guys in DJ Stewart, for example, Chi-Man Choi, Luke Voigt to a lesser degree, just to name a few. But we all know the powers there with Mark Vientos. If you've looked through his numbers through Baseball Savant over the past year, he's one of the hardest hitters in Major League Baseball. The exit velo is through the roof, and similar to Baty, these are quad A players. So what do I mean by that, you might ask? These are guys that have thrived so well at the AAA level, showcasing their power, showcasing their ability to spread the field too, but at the Major League level have yet to put it all together. And this is a big year for Mark Vientos. There's a lot of pressure on his shoulders, whether he likes it or not, because of the fact that the Mets have not properly addressed a DH in years past. So while we don't mean to necessarily put all this pressure on the young man's shoulders, the reality is a lot of us Mets fans are fed up with an improper, inconsistent DH position. We're hoping that given consistent reps, Mark Vientos can finally blossom into that homegrown talent the Mets have been looking for, just like Francisco Alvarez over this past year, and of course the guy leading the charge for the Amazings in his contract year, and Pete Alonso. So Mark Vientos, as he projects here per Fangraphs, as you see down below, he's projected to have right around 15 home runs, north of 50 RBIs, and a sample size that only consists of 100 more plate appearances than what he's currently getting. I think Mark Vientos, as long as the Mets fully commit to him, is easily going to surpass the plate appearance plateau there. He's going to get to 4, if not hopefully even 500. That means hopefully things are going right for him in his production. But Mark Vientos is someone who, at his absolute best, is a power hitter in Major League Baseball, a guy that can give you anywhere from 20 to 30 plus bombs a year. If you look at all his profiles, he profiles pretty well. He is someone that, again, needs to not have as much of a loopy swing. We know he's been a big swing and miss at the Major League level. That comes with being a young and experienced and also jumpy, excited slugger. But when you go from starting your first game last year with a call-up to hitting a game-tying bomb against the Tampa Bay Rays, which I was in attendance to, then being benched for the ensuing week after, for the most part, it's frustrating. And thankfully, the Mets don't have this, almost, if you want to call it, a toxic dynamic from their manager to the GM that they had to a certain extent with Billy Epler and Buck Showalter that they have now in Carlos Mendoza and David Stearns. Everyone is on the same page for the most part. Everyone understands what their role is, and ultimately the Mets understand that this is a year where they want to see what they have and their young power hitter Mark Vientos. So as long as he's given a leash, I really think that this is a year where Mark Vientos, where we can see him get to that 20 home run plateau, get past 50 RBIs, again, as long as he's given plenty of opportunity, and again, he can finally get comfortable at the MLB level. Something that doesn't really go noticed too much, at least with a lot of fans when they evaluate young players and their lack of consistency, is forgetting the mental aspect of things. A lot that I'm going to be sharing here shortly with Baty. But in Vientos, just think about what he's trying to do, just trying to stay fresh day to day at the Major League level, trying to showcase in very limited at-bats. You know how much pressure has been on his shoulders as is, just trying to get acclimated in the league. Just imagine what he could be if he thrives in an everyday role comfortably, like what he's done in AAA. It's all about comfort with a lot of these young players. As long as they know and realize, hey, this is, again, my job to lose in certain ways, I think Mark Vientos is going to really take advantage of this opportunity that the Mets and David Stearns are actually giving him. And ultimately, I definitely see a role where we get a stat line to Mark Vientos that has him hopefully 20 plus bombs a season. I mean, if he gets, 500 and 600 play appearances where truly everything goes right right, he might just be a 30 home run bat, and then bam, you're looking at it and say, okay, this guy might just be the X factor in making playoffs or not. So while I'm not trying to stay too optimistic and looking at projections through Fangraphs, I only care about projections so much, especially for young and experienced players, but I do foresee a role where Mark Vientos can give the Mets 20 home runs this year, 60 to 70 RBIs, having himself hopefully in that 235, 250 plus slash line on hitting. Again, I'm not going to go overly crazy on the contact. I know that's going to be a difficult thing for him. And hopefully an OPS that, again, is in that 750 to 800 range, thanks to the power that he provides with said slugging. So Mark Vientos, a lot to prove this year, but the Mets are giving him the keys. Now it's just a matter of, will he be able to unlock that door? So now going for Mark Vientos, let's talk about a guy who's had his fair share of mental struggles this past season. But before I do that, I have to let you all know about today's video sponsor and our great friends on the channel at BetUS. In case you guys don't know BetUS, BetUS is America's #1 sportsbook, as they're safe, secure, and reliable. And a lot of you guys have been getting in on their NHL in season action, NBA in season action. If you're like me and you're diehard Rangers fans, apologies to the Devils, Flyers, and Islanders fans I may have just offended. Seriously, I do apologize, only to a certain degree. You know what I'm saying. Regardless, though, my Rangers tonight, at the time of recording this, have their biggest game potentially of the season thus far against the Florida Panthers, and they're at plus 110 odds. I know the Panthers are really, really good, but I'm a Rangers fan. I know how good my Rangers are, so I'm hammering the money line there. That feels like easy money to me, so that is a bet that I am placing today. And if you're a Ranger fan, then let me know if you guys end up doing the same. But again, if you want all your sports betting needs, including MLB futures that we'll be discussing soon on the channel, along with doing our unique WardyNYM Mets-related parlays throughout the regular season that will break down in our post-game shows, get in on all the action today by clicking the link down below. That way you too get a 125% boost when not your first, not your second, but your first 3 deposits. It is that easy. Say you deposit $100, you automatically get $225 to work with. Need I say more? Shout out BetUS as always for being a great sponsor on the channel, and of course, bet responsibly, everybody. Now let's get back into this, and let's talk about, again, the man, as I mentioned, who had his fair share of struggles last year, but is still a player that I think has plenty to give for the Mets and what may be a make or break year for him at the third base position, and that is Brett the Met Baty. Now, if you like Brett the Met, if you like that kind of wordplay, if you don't, let me know in the comments down below. Always appreciate that too. But there's a lot to say here about Brett Baty and his potential production or lack thereof with the Mets this past season. Because as we know, Baty has been one of these guys that has showcased the ability. We've seen it at the AAA level. We've seen it in flashes at the MLB level. But after Brett basically had third base to lose last season, a month or so in after the Mets traded Eduardo Escobar to the LA Angels, Baty did nothing with that opportunity to truly take advantage. His defense was subpar, as is the case with Mark Vientos. While Mark Vientos, just to add on him for a second, while he has improved his defense plenty throughout the offense and the spring offseason, I expect Vientos to get far more reps at DH than third base this season, but it is something that I know the Mets will be platooning for sure, seeing what they have in these young guys. Baty, though, as you see, again, had roughly 400 plate appearances this past season, a former first-round draft pick by the Amazons, 9 home runs, 34 RBIs, a negative WAR player, a negative both defensive and offensive player. Brett Baty, when he's at his absolute best, is at best a league average MLB defender. He has plenty more work to do on that front. Offensively, he can spread the ball for opposite field at his absolute best, and he can hit for power, but he has struggled so mightily at the major league level to be able to lift said ball. And in case you're wondering what exactly I mean by that, what I mean is at the AAA level, Baty is absolutely raking, lifting the ball and pulling it comfortably. At the MLB level, he has struggled so much catching up to today's pitching in major leagues, whether it's fastball and breaking balls, which he has unfortunately just looked silly on, but it's also the ability to lift. He has been a ground ball machine. Something about his swing, while it's pretty, has been a problem for him where he's behind a lot of the times and he ends up grinding out soft contact for a double play, whatever it may be. Brett has a lot of proving to do this season. He knows that he'll be the first to tell you that, and he was very vocal about his mental struggles that he had in his rookie season last year. So putting those mental struggles aside, it seems like he's in a better space, and also understanding that it's really easy to get cooped up in your own head at the plate as a young, immature, and inexperienced hitter, to the point where the guy was looking as lifeless with at-bats as Daniel Vogelback and not taking the bat off his shoulder. You just weren't getting much. But Baty, as you see through these projections, again, similar to Vientos, honestly, you're looking at a roughly 250 average, a 726 OPS, just above league average in the WRC+, 16 home runs, 56 RBIs. Honestly, as much as I love Brett Baty, I know he has so much to do this year that I actually have a sliver of a bit more faith in Mark Vientos than I do Baty. So because of that reason, I'm going to go very similar in line with his current projections because I don't know exactly how much playing time he's going to get this year. There's a reality where, say, he performs underwhelming, he goes back to AAA. The Mets go with a platoon option at third base, say Vientos, and also giving some days. Whether you like it or not, Joey Wendell is on the roster, and he can play all over the infield. McNeil, while he doesn't play third base well, can be put in that position. And, of course, the Mets have other prospects they can consider for the infield configuration. Point is that Brett Baty has a lot to prove this year. We all know that, and I do think that he's not going to have the prettiest year by any stretch. I think he's going to go through his trials and tribulations once again. So in that 15 home run, hopefully 50, 60 RBI pace. But what do I want to see? I want to see better pitch selection by Brett Baty. I want to see a comfort level, especially in his ability to drive the fastball and lift and pull. We saw one instance so far this spring at the time, according to Baty, not only taking a heater, ripping it, pulling it beautifully. We want to see that more on a consistent basis, because if Brett cannot be able to lift the ball at the major league level, it's hard to envision him having a promising career, at least in the Mets organization. So while the Mets are trying to give leashes to guys in this transitionary year where you're pushing for playoffs versus having World Series aspirations at label heading into camp, this is now the time to see what you have in Brett Baty and Mark Vientos, what very well could be a potential make or break year for either player in the organization. So having said that all, everybody, I want to know your thoughts down below. What is your biggest takeaway from the first video, a preview and projections for the 2024 season between Brett Baty and Mark Vientos? Which one do you think is going to have the better season and why? Drop it down below. Greatly appreciate it. And if you guys enjoyed this content, are looking forward to more player preview and projections on the channel, make sure to smash that like and subscribe button and stay tuned, as I'll be rolling out plenty over the next couple weeks. So again, thank you guys so much. Stay tuned for consistent Mets coverage all season long. And this is your boy Wardy signing out. Let's go Mets, baby. Peace.